Hi, and welcome to my second little podcast. It is Sunday, January 10th, 2016. How are you doing? How was your week? January 10th. How is your how is it going with your New Year's resolution? Uh, Still going to the gym? I am. Yeah. I don't know. I started a new workout thing, so I hired like a trainer. Yeah, I know it sounds fancy, but yeah, gentleman like me needs somebody to show me technique so I don't hurt myself anymore. So I'm. It's. I guess it's a kind of a light version of CrossFit. It's very interesting. I love the fact that I am totally drenched in sweat after like 30 minutes. Wow, jump right into that. We're like 1 minute in, and he's talking about sweating in the gym. But my other New Year's resolution, which is trying to avoid sugar. It's not going well. To be honest, I have picked up a bad habit. I went out and I had a late night donut attack, and then my favorite little pastry. It's called apple pandowdy. It's this beautiful doughy thing with some cinnamon, apple, and on some glaze. It's just so good with a nice cup of coffee. And Yeah. So, what's been going on this week? One of the things that I was paying a little bit attention to was Obama was going to sign an executive order, which he did on January 5th. And I don't know about you, but I thought that, I mean, the pre press, the pre announcement hype in the media um, didn't really seem to match what President Obama came out with. It wasn't sweeping, it wasn't game changing, uh, you know, at all. I mean, the 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 mainstream media, at least the part of it that I was paying attention to, was talking about it as if Obama was coming down from the mountain with the Ten Commandments of new gun laws by, is it called Fiat? Certainly by executive order, and the president was going to put down the hammer. He was going to take our guns away. The usual hype, and I don't know. I mean, again, not. But as I understand it, the only thing that really changed was that was the way that guns are now allowed to be sold on the internet, right? Um, so I think that was the biggest thing in the executive order, right? Was that if you're now selling guns on the internet, if you are a gun shop on the internet, then you have to register as a gun shop, and you have to do background checks on the people um, that you sell guns to. But I don't know. I think there was some confusion. What about if you, let's say, you inherited a bunch of guns because one of your dad was a bunker list. What are they? Survivalist, bunker list. He had tons of guns, and when he passed away, somebody inherited a ton of them, and he wanted to sell it, and the easiest way to sell it was on the internet. Does that person have to get a license? If you sell 3 guns a year or whatever, I'm not sure how that works, and I'm not even sure how the whole selling of guns on the internet clearly works. But apparently, you can buy guns on the internet. Um, And then what else? Then the ATF is finalizing some kind of rule that is supposed to cover um, what is described as dangerous weapons. Is there any weapons that are not dangerous? I'm not sure I understand that, but I think that's the word that was used even on the White House website. Is dangerous weapons and other items that can be bought through a trust, a corporation, or other legal entities. Really? You can buy guns as a corporation? I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, right? Because corporations are people in America, but I certainly did not know that apparently you can buy a weapon through or as a trust, a corporation, or another legal entity. Interesting. I did not know that. Then I think they now want to up the processing of the background check has to run 24 hours, 7 days a week. Um, I think that's whatever. I don't know if it has to be. Why can't it just be Monday through Friday like anything else? And then get that done. And then to help that, apparently the FBI is supposed to hire 230 additional people to help facilitate, this background check. Uh, on a side note, with gun purchasing and like so, I have like a it's we'll get to my own personal, but on a side note, let me stick to the subject here. Um, One thing I never understood is I go for the background check. Yes, you have a background check. You pass a background check and you buy your guns and you wait your 10 days and then you get your gun. I'm all for that. Um, I'm also for that next time you go buy a gun, whether it be 10 days from now or 6 months from now or a year from now, whatever it is, then you do another background check. That's fair enough. Something could have happened so that um, our country has removed your constitutional right to own a gun from you, and we can have a discussion another day about that. But what I don't understand is that after you have passed a background check and you have had your first 10-day waiting period to buy a gun, why do you have to wait another 10 days the next time you buy a gun and you pass a background check? I mean, I understand they say it's a cool down period, but you already own a gun. Maybe we should, logically speaking, we should have a 10-day waiting period on ammunition, right? I mean, the gun doesn't matter, uh, the ammunition or the ammunition without the gun, but really it is the ammunition after you've purchased your first gun. So why is that not the cooling down period? I never understood that. Why do you have to wait another 10 days? You already have a gun. You could, instead of going to get another gun, if you're really angry and want to hurt somebody or have to hurt yourself, instead of going through the process of waiting 10 days, you could just buy freaking bullets for the gun that you already own. So I just don't, I don't, I don't get that. Then to jump off that side note, Obama then said that um, I'm sorry. He Obama said that this executive order, if it saves one life, then it's worth it. And so, you know, I don't know. I think it's will his executive order save one life? Will the requirement of having people that buy guns on the internet have a background check and um, yes, of course it will. So yes, it will save lives. But I mean, it's really, really not. You know, the amount of lives and his executive order compared to the amount of hype, and compared to the scale of the problem, you know, seems just pretty weak, right? And the way that you know that this executive order really didn't have any massive teeth on it, or really did anything to curtail gun ownership in America and access to guns in America, and therefore will do almost next to nothing to curtail the astonishingly large number of gun deaths in America. The way you know that it won't do anything is because, predictably, Fox News didn't have anything. They didn't have anything where they could scare up or stir the pot of anger and fear. Obama is coming for your guns and get ready. So instead they went to I guess ridicule or just being downright nasty and mean. I mean, I just don't get it. But as I'm sure you're aware of now, when the president Obama he spoke about the shooting at Sandy Hook in Newtown that took the life of 20 children and 6 adults. He shed a tear. I mean, it wasn't bawling, crying. He shed a tear. I think it was out of his left eye, mostly. Andrea Tantaros from Fox News thought that, because you can't scare you, he's not coming for your guns in this thing, he's just asking for a freaking background check on the internet, joked that, hey, someone should check the podium for raw onion or no more tears, and then making more fun or ridiculing the president by saying we are in awards, award season. I mean, right. Do I think that President Obama is a person with exceptional, maybe extraordinary self-control? Do I think that he has a total? He's mastery. He's the master of his emotions in public. Do I think that the president could have held back his tear as he delivered his announcement about his executive order on gun control? Well, yes, of course I do, and of course he could. There's no doubt about that. But God forbid that the president showed that he was still, with all the stuff that goes on as a president and all the things that he's responsible for, and he is responsible for a lot more than the death of 20 innocent children himself. He has given the order or set up the framework that have killed many more than 20 innocent children in what we can call collateral damage overseas, right? But does that make it fake? As Fox News, as Fox News was she was trying to say, or I mean, that was the story on Fox News. Sarah Palin came out and indicated that it was kind of fake, or why is he crying over that? Why is he not crying over something else? But God forbid, he was talking about the 20 children at Sandy Hook, and then he shed a tear. But yeah, he should have cried at every other fucking thing. You know who else was in the camp of ridiculing the president for, God forbid, letting open a little bit to that he has some emotion about this, as any person with a heart and a soul would have? George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman. You want to be in the camp with George Zimmerman? The guy that was innocent of the murder, or found innocent of the murder of Trayvon Martin. He's innocent like O.J. Simpson was innocent of killing Nicole Brown. I mean, Jesus Christ. I also heard some person that, from the chattering class over at, I think it was a Fox News again, and that with that familiar, condescending, accusatory tone that was always like reserved for the president, especially as at Fox News, is why didn't Obama cry when ISIL beheaded the journalist? How do you know? How does anybody know how many times any president has had any emotion about anything? What is it that you want to do? Right? If the president had walked around and cried at everything, then that would have been wrong. Now that he's not shown any emotion and hasn't, oh my God, I can't wait for the State of the Union. I hope he roasts you all on Tuesday. But how do you know? I mean, both of them are extremely tragic incidences. All of the mass shootings are beyond tragic, and all solvable. Like we could stop it if we wanted to, right? But let's be clear. As horrendous as the beheading of the journalists were war correspondents. Should journalists ever be the target of anybody, any government, or any organization? Absolutely not. But can we say that there's a difference between the 20 children going to school and the journalists going into a conflict zone to report? Can we at least agree that they would have different expectations of what was going to happen or what could possibly happen to them that day? I mean, the children of Sandy Hook or any other mass shooting in America should never have to walk around and have that be the expectation that today they would end up a victim of a mass shooting. Not only because that's wrong, and also because it's statistically probably not going to happen, but really, that's not what anybody thinks is going to happen to them on any given day. I mean, you know, except we live in America. And we've decided that, you know, we're going to have a country where we have next to no real social safety net. We have people living in poverty, and in poverty in America is harsh for poverty in any Western civilized nation, right? So we have barely no social safety net. We have no mental health institutions to speak of, or mental health for anybody. And even if you do have uh, health insurance and you're lucky enough to have a insurance that covers mental health, you might not even get the treatment that you need because our system is so rigid because of, well, here you go, health insurance companies. So, lack of opportunity, lack of safety net, lack of health care for the mentally ill, massive amount of illegal drug use because of our war on drugs, and a ton of guns. I mean, what do you expect when you have that kind of soup, right? I guess you expect that over 108,000 people in America get shot from in murders or assaults or suicide attempt, unintentional shootings or by police. 108,000 people. But hey, we really probably should stop to whine and complain about it for as long as we believe that having guns is an essential part of being American. It's not going to change. What the president did, is it going to save a life? Yes. Is it going to save 10? Probably. But will it do anything? Will we have less than 108,000 people shot next year or whatever it is? Will we have a lower number? Has much, much more to do with the socioeconomic situation, whether or not the poor are getting poorer, whether or not the middle class is getting evaporated, than with any gun legislation that has been passed or has any chance of passing, in the near future here in America. But hey, it's what it is. Oh, what else was going on? Then another thing that really has just been bothering me a little bit, and it's going to come a long way around, right? But I'm not sure if you remember back in 2000 and 2014, Neil Young had scheduled a concert in Israel, and Roger Waters, who is as far as I know, because of this, a critic of Israel and their treatment of people in Gaza. And Roger Waters wrote a long Facebook post with a headline, a note from Roger Waters, and he did that on July 11th, 2014. You can go read it; it's still there. But he was basically asking Neil Young not to give a concert in Israel. He was reminding him uh, of his activism and his commitment to the musical boycott of apartheid South America. Um, if you're old enough, you'll remember the song "We're Not Going to Play in Sun City," which was the rallying cry for the musicians at the time uh, uh, to stop playing in Sun City, which was an amazing town for white people in South Africa. And people got together, and Roger Waters was basically saying, "Hey, Neil Young, man, you know what? You did it back then. You should really not go." Neil Young ended up not going. He canceled his concert because of security concerns. It might not have had anything to do with the um, um, open letter, and personal letter from Roger Waters. And then that caught the attention of Mr. Howard Stern, when his trusted sidekick Robin Quivers uh, did her usual end of show news read. She at some point got to you know uh, one of she got to the letter from Roger Waters, and that got Howard into a little tizzy about, um, you know, what's up here? Why is he doing that? And he's that one of the brilliant observations that because we should really rely on Howard Stern for uh, commentary on international issues, and this is really where my pet peeve comes in with Howard Stern. Uh, but one of his brilliant observations was the problem in that part of the world is that the indigenous people are not allowed into the Arab lands. I think I got that quote right, certainly right enough. I'll let that stand for a second. Right? The indigenous people are not allowed into other people's lands because, in Howard's world, the indigenous people should leave their little world. There wasn't much more said. I think I commented on this at the time when it happened. I certainly did on Twitter, and one of the reasons it bothers me is because Howard Stern was one of the loud voices for the war in Iraq, and I feel like he has taken absolutely no lesson from that mistake. And I am just like any person from the Bush administration, from Bolton to Cheney to Condoleezza Rice, they should simply be ignored when they make throat noises about anything that has to do with foreign policy, especially anything that comes to the Middle East. One would think that even Howard Stern, with the consequences of the Iraq War, would have a little humility, but as you'll see, he doesn't, and it has consequences. Then later on, later in 2015, it is confirmed that Bon Jovi is going to go through with his concert in Israel. Roger Waters writes an op-ed, this time on Salon.com. And instead of what like he did with with Neil Young, where he mentioned a bunch of musical protest heroes like Guthrie and others, um, uh, and kind of uh, uh, appealing to the better angels of Neil Young after Bon Jovi has gone ahead with the concert, or certainly decided that he will go ahead with it. He is Roger Waters in his op-ed piece, among other things, says you stand shoulder to shoulder with the settlers who burned the baby, with the bulldozers driven who crushed Lael Corey. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that. Rachel Corey, I think, and with the soldier who shot the soccer player's feet to bits. And of course, Bon Jovi is not doing that. You know, he went to Israel to play a concert. Yes, there is symbolic value in pointing stuff out, but let's not go overboard here, Roger Waters. I agree he shouldn't play, but, you know, let's not do again. But let me not defend Bon Jovi. Howard Stern again takes the opportunity to attack Roger Waters. And on this, and you can go listen to this on YouTube, Howard Stern gets as close as he can possibly get to calling Roger Waters anti-Semitic. What have the Jews done to you, Roger Waters? Why do you hate the Jews? That kind of bullshit. Because one cannot be, critical of the state of Israel in Howard's world without then having something against the Jews, which is it's one of those arguments that just stifles all debate, and for a person who is as smart and certainly as wealthy and certainly has the opportunity to find out more and to know more about any issue that he wants to open his mouth about, and certainly after how wrong he was with the gung-ho hatred after 9/11, which was understandable, but not all the war mongering that came from him after, and how wrong he was. Some humility, or certainly one should expect him after the first time. I know he was probably pointed out that, hey, things are not as you think they are, right? And then Howard also asked, how can Roger Waters stand living in an America, a country founded on genocide? And I'm pretty sure I have that quote fairly right too. And I don't understand here. What is Howard trying to say? Is Howard trying to say that we should learn nothing from history? So over in Europe, where racism is flying high from all kinds of quarters because of a massive pressure on the social system and a recession. So over in Europe, when they are done hating on the Muslims over there, and they remember that they also hate the Jews, should we just not care, sit back, do nothing? Then Howard Stern goes into this Walt Disney version of how there was nothing and no one there in the what is today Israel, and the Jews created it out of nothing, and there's no oil in the land. Not acknowledging that one of the reasons I don't know this for a fact because I don't sit in on the strategy meetings of the state of Israel, but one would think that one of the reasons that Israel is trying to squeeze, the Palestinians out of Gaza is because there are large oil fields and natural gas fields found in the territorial water of whoever is control of that coastline that is outside of 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 that coastline. He then says, "Where do you want the Jews to go, Roger? Do you want them to go back to the concentration camp?" Again, what the fuck, man? Like, it's unbelievable. This type of rhetoric, right? Because it is not about Jews. It's about the state of Israel. It is very complicated, obviously, but that is just not it. Again, it's one of those things that you say these kind of things and it just almost ends any chance of any reasonable form of conversation, debate about the state of Israel and its relationship to the occupied territories, including Gaza. Then that same day that Howard Stern is talking about that, he has Adam Sandler on, which is really a very, very good interview again by Howard Stern. But a part of that Howard Stern interview with Adam Sandler, for whatever reason, feels like getting involved in this war of words between Roger Waters and Howard Stern, by saying, "Where do you get off, Roger Waters? I fucking love that you do that. I'm disgusted that they single out Israel. All those nice Israeli people are getting a fuck you from Roger Waters. I'm not crazy religious, but I'm proud of being a Jew, and that's what I am." Adam, what the fuck does having Jews have to do with any of this? Other than maybe recognizing outside of Israel what is really happening there. And again, you sit in that interview with Howard Stern and you talk about a part of this. Howard Stern loves to talk about the money that is being made, and you answer that question. Seems to me that you have enough time and enough resources to figure some shit out. Again, unless you believe that Israel should have what is a concentration camp. You can't call it anything other than that. Since when does being Jewish exclude you from being a well-informed, compassionate human being? I just don't get it. Like Howard Stern and Adam Sandler and other people, and I have every fucking right to say this. I did my bar mitzvah. I don't believe in any of this, but so this is back the fuck off, right? I don't want to fucking hear it, but this is not Israel. Is not that pre-Berlin, the wall fall kind of New York liberal kibbutz loving Jews. That's not what's running Israel anymore. That's not what's there. The people that were, the Israel that almost had peace with all of its neighbors. That's not the Israel that's there anymore. There's a massive immigration deliberately imported from Eastern Europe of very, very right-wing Orthodox Jews that have changed the face of Israel. You know? So what I'm being told here by Mr. Sandler and Howard Stern is, right, that you can't be Jewish if you are against Israel and the Israeli blockade, at best, concentration camp, at worst, Gaza. The people of Gaza does not control anything. They do not control streets in their country. They do not control anything. They don't control the airspace. They don't control the access from the sea. You know, they up until 2010, there was a massive restriction on import. Some of that was made easier, but you know, they part of the things that were not allowed to be imported were yam, razor blades, light bulbs, candles, books, musical instruments, crayons, clothing and mattresses and shoes and chips and vinegar and nutmeg and fishing rods and cardamom and biscuits and potatoes and paper and buttons and newspaper, industrial salt and livestock and all kinds of different things. There was a period of time where Israel calculated the calories for the people in the Gaza Strip so that they, could only import what was almost near starvation level of calories per day, right? According to the UN office that coordinates humanitarian affairs and have been at various times, Israel has blocked goods that included wheelchairs, dry food items, stationery, soccer balls, and they confirm musical instruments and dry food, Gaza is surrounded by a fence or a wall with gun towers. I mean, what are you supposed to call that? And people like Howard Stern and Adam Sandler should be on the front line because they have a voice, they have a fucking platform, and they should be calling Israel out on that so that we can get that Israel back that we all love and know and respect, and not this new version that is in Israel now. I mean, the last conflict, and just in proportion, right? So the last conflict in Gaza, the numbers that I got off the internet was that 3,834 targets in Gaza was struck by Israel. 2,927 rockets were launched at Israel from Gaza. Now, pay attention there, right? What they say that is that there was targets struck. That means that they actually hit them, 3,834. They say that they also said 2,927 rockets were launched. They didn't hit Israel. That doesn't mean it's not fucking dangerous. I understand it's dangerous, but let's also be clear. Israel has the world's most sophisticated defense system, thanks in large part to American and Israeli innovation and certainly American funding, right? And then 1,881 Palestinians died, 67 Israeli died. Now, what is all this? So, what I said when I started this rant, what does that have to do? What does this all? Why did it come to mind? It came to mind because in New Jersey, there was a 16-year-old girl, Bethany Koval, that was called to the principal office because she was going to, or was reprimanded for making tweets critical of Israel, and because she was making tweets that were critical of Israel, one of her friends defriended her, and she commented on that without mentioning the name of the person that defriended her. She was then called down to the office and reprimanded. She was being threatened that she was going to be charged in the anti-bullying bill in New Jersey, which is one of the toughest in the country, I have been told. And she could be suspended or expelled, and there could be, lawsuits coming from that. Now, let's be clear. Has she tweeted about any other country than Israel, then this would not be the case. If she had had any tweets of Denmark or Sweden or Germany or Canada or Mexico or Uruguay, this would not have been an issue. Now, we need to be able in this country to get to a place where 16-year-old Jewish girls who have a negative opinion based on some real facts. She tweets them out. She expresses them. It's about Israel. And in America, we can't have a sober, real conversation about the state of Israel. And one of the reasons we can't have that is because well-educated, wealthy American people with a platform that are Jewish will not grow out of their Walt Disney view of the state of Israel. This old-fashioned thing that just hasn't existed since after the wall fell. Wow, that was some long-winded shite. I hope you're still with me. I really also wanted to talk about the new TSA rules and the naked scanners and what that will do. Some people are not allowed to opt out anymore. I wonder what that is going to do, because I really do not want to go through those scanners. Although I did on my last trip, I betrayed myself. I went through the scanner because I just wanted to get down and see my daughter and not have any problems on the way. Thank you for listening to my podcast. You are more than welcome, obviously, to comment. If you live in my area in Humboldt or anywhere near me and are interested in talking about these things live on air, I would love to hear from you. If you are interested in discussing any of this live on air, I would also love to hear from you. Thank you for listening. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. It is a great world. Don't be afraid.